Chapter 16. Wendy picked Mary up and drove her to Slithering Gulch Park, where they'd agreed to meet Carol. She thought the name was a little weird, but it was on the edge of the mostly white part of town before it got too black, and they hadn't put stickers there before, so she hoped the three of them could still go to a place like that without getting harassed.
"Thanks for coming with me. The boys are probably just being paranoid, but I still feel better having you along." "It's fine," Mary replied. "I'm glad we get to hang out again. They do kind of have a point, though. It is weird that so many people join different groups all at the same time. Carol didn't seem suspicious to me, though. She's cool. Barbara seems like she's not sure what she's getting into, especially with her past. Sandra seems kind of suspicious. She's always so nosy, but so cold and closed off. But she did come up with a good idea for our ladies' night." "I really hope they're not up to anything," Wendy said. "We've all been doing so much to try to wake people up to what's going on. I want to believe the new Nova members and all the new guys going to Active Club were really interested in making a difference. It does seem like our narrative is winning online, and that secret Hitler thing is getting a lot of attention, but you never know." "Yeah, I was optimistic when I heard they had some new people at Active Club, and then we got a couple new people at church," Mary added. "But when Buck told me that the Proud Boys and that Asatru group some of their friends are in got new people the same weekend, it seemed too good to be true." "God is giving us such difficult trials these days," Wendy lamented. "It would be nice to get a win sometimes without feeling like there's some Jew pulling the strings and setting you up for an even bigger loss." "I know what you mean," Mary sighed. "Even if they turn out to be fake, maybe it will be a blessing in disguise, and we'll convert some of them and find out what they're up to." "Or maybe they're secretly part of Secret Hitler," Wendy suggested, "and they're looking for more help." Mary asked, "I thought you didn't trust Secret Hitler." "I don't really. I'm just trying to be optimistic," Wendy replied. "Honestly, if they're involved with Secret Hitler, that's almost as scary as them being feds." "Jesus, why must you give us your most difficult battles?" Mary asked. "Not knowing what they're up to or if they're even on our side or not is the hardest part." "Knowing is half the battle," Wendy quoted the meme. "Hopefully today we can get a better idea of whether Carol's really on our side or not." They pulled into the parking lot and saw Carol in a tasteful orange dress with her strawberry blonde hair tied back in a matching ribbon, watching the sunset. As they approached her, Mary said, "Look at you, dressed up all pretty, and here we are in our jeans and hoodies looking like total normies." "Oh, thank you." Carol sounded almost embarrassed by the praise. "I didn't expect you to dress as nicely for her trip to the park as our trip to the museum," Wendy said with a laugh. "Here we are trying to dress boring so we don't draw attention, and you're going to have every guy in the park staring at you." "Oh gosh, I didn't think of that." Carol covered her mouth with her hand for a moment. "Sorry, I just like dressing up. I've never really done anything like this before." "Don't ever become a spy. You'd be terrible at it," Wendy said, hoping to test Carol's reaction. Carol looked both amused and embarrassed at the same time. "Hopefully I never have to do anything like that. If you ever need someone to infiltrate some Jewish group or something, pick someone else." "You'd stick out like a rose on a thorn bush," Mary said with a little giggle in her voice, making Carol blush a little in response. "Thanks. You both look beautiful too, even in your normal clothes," Carol replied. "It's good to see you both again." "I probably should have told you to wear something that makes it harder to see your face," Wendy said, "but the park seems pretty empty today. Hopefully it won't be an issue." Carol replied, "If I'm drawing too much attention, just direct me to be a distraction while you put the stickers up." Wendy wasn't sure what to make of her behavior yet. Carol seemed more flattered by the compliments about her appearance than flustered by the comments about her abilities as a spy. She hadn't told Carol that Mary would be tagging along, since they'd only made the decision that afternoon, but Carol didn't seem bothered by that either. Wendy pulled the pack of stickers she'd brought along out of her purse to show Carol what they looked like, since Carol hadn't been to any Nova meetings. "These are some of the stickers we've been putting up. You can look through them while we walk around and look for good places to put them up." "White Lives Matter, straight to the point," Carol commented as she went through them. "Make America white again." She giggled at that one as she followed along, paying more attention to the stickers than where they were going. Mary suggested, "Maybe we should put some up on the light poles around the parking lot." Wendy replied, "Those always get taken down first, but at least that means someone sees them." "How about this one?" Carol held up a sticker that said "Proud to be White" on it. "Sure." Mary took it and stuck it to the nearest light pole. They continued along, picking out different stickers to put on half a dozen different light poles. Wendy said, "All right, let's get further into the park itself. There will be lots of other places to put them."
As they started down a paved path through a grassy field and into the trees, Wendy turned to Carol.
"So what got you into this movement, Carol?" "Oh, well, honestly, it was mostly seeing anti-white racism," Carol replied. "I don't really want to be hateful. I don't think that's what Jesus would want, but when people are being mean to me and my people, I don't like that at all. I think it's good to stand up for ourselves."
Mary asked, "How did you find out about our church?"
"One of my online friends is a fan of David's videos," Carol replied. "When he found out I was in the same city as David's church, he started sending me his videos, and I thought they were really interesting, so I decided to go. And I dragged Barbara along because I was nervous about going all by myself."
Her answer seemed plausible enough, but it also sounded a little bit rehearsed, so Wendy decided to test her a bit more.
"Who else do you like to listen to? Do you follow Andrew Torba or Stu Peters?"
Carol looked like she was trying not to laugh.
"Stu Peters?"
Wendy asked,
"What?" "I mean, his name, it sounds like Stupiders," Carol replied, which made Mary and Wendy laugh involuntarily. "But, no, I don't think I've heard of Stu Peters. I do listen to that blonde lady. She goes by Blonde. I think her actual name is Rebecca Hargrove, something like that." "Blonde in the Belly of the Beast?" Mary asked. "The chick who's doing that show with Blackpilled about true crime and vigilante justice?"
Wendy replied,
"Oh, that sounds interesting. Isn't she Orthodox? I think I saw a few episodes of some show she did with a few other guys in the movement."
Mary replied,
"I think she is, yeah. You probably saw her on The Backlash. I think they broke up. The main host, Dave, is kinda cucky sometimes, but Buck brought me some of the soap he's always trying to sell, and it's really nice."
Carol said,
"I was thinking about buying some, but yeah, her show about vigilante justice is really interesting. Not that I want us to ever have to do that kind of stuff or anything, but, I mean, the people who have are kind of exciting, you know?"
Wendy nodded.
"Yeah, I know Patriot Front isn't like a militia or anything, but it's nice to know our boyfriends could handle that kind of thing if they needed to."
She tried to be cautious about how she said it. Carol's explanation of who she listened to was convincing enough, but was it convincing because it was real, or because she'd done her homework? As they came around a bend in the path, the trees ended and the path split into three. The two side paths curved around down to a stone plaza with a waterway cutting through the middle of it, while the middle path led up to a footbridge across the waterway to a similar plaza on the other side, with another parking lot visible across the plaza. The bridge was big enough for walkways underneath along the edge of the water.
"I bet people hang out down under the bridge sometimes," Carol said. "Maybe we should put some stickers down there."
Mary replied,
"Hopefully the kinds of people who hang out down there aren't all homeless people and vagrants."
Carol suggested,
"Maybe some young rebels who are looking for a cause will see it." "You do have to be at least a little bit of a rebel to end up in a group like ours," Wendy admitted, taking Carol's advice and leading them down to the plaza and up to the concrete wall supporting the bridge. The walkways underneath were big enough for a couple people to walk side by side on each side of the waterway. There was quite a bit of graffiti already covering the walls. Some of it looked gang-related, but there was also a transgender flag painted on the wall with the words trans rights under it. "Oh, that's disgusting," Wendy said when she saw it.
Mary said,
"I knew this would be the kind of place where the wrong kind of people would come to hang out."
Carol said,
"The sinners who come out here need to see a message of hope and positivity."
Mary replied,
"Hopefully they see it before they get their balls or tits cut off."
Wendy and Carol both laughed. They picked out a few stickers that they thought would send a good message and used them to cover up the transgender flag, then crossed the bridge and put a few different stickers on that side, covering up a lewd poem that had been written on the wall. Wendy took before and after pictures, and she felt like they'd done some good just by covering up the perverted graffiti.
"We've been out here less than 20 minutes, and we've already made this park a better place. And we're just getting started."
Carol sounded enthusiastic enough to give Wendy a reason to doubt their suspicions about her.
"Let's keep moving before the trainee brigade comes around and wants to know who covered up their graffiti," Mary said. "I do not want to fight a crazy man in a dress tonight." "The path up that way goes further into the park along the river," Wendy suggested. "There are a few other nice places to put stickers up that way."
Wendy led them along the edge of the waterway to where the plaza ended and nature resumed. The path led uphill a little bit, giving room for a slope with trees along it separating the path from the stream below. The path wound through the trees for a little ways, and the girls chatted about their hair care routines and products as they walked.
I try to buy all-natural shampoo and conditioner whenever I can find someone selling it. I'm tempted to make my own. That way I can choose the scents and stuff, but it's a lot of work.
Carol said,
You two care so much about how natural the products you use are. I'm curious, do you care about nature and the environment?
Wendy replied,
Yeah, I do. Hitler was an environmentalist. He'd be remembered for that if not for the war.
Wendy said,
A lot of people in the racial right care about the environment. We just don't think carbon emissions are that big a deal. Plants breathe carbon. Deforestation is a bigger problem, but that's mostly a problem in South America and Africa. Ocean trash is a problem, but China and India produce most of the world's ocean trash, while white countries are only responsible for 1% of ocean trash. They just want to blame everything on carbon so they can guilt-trip white countries while ignoring how non-white countries are worse than we are about all kinds of things.
Wendy was impressed by Mary's knowledge on the subject and hoped that if Carol was secretly a leftist, that would make her rethink some things. Up ahead, the path led under another bridge where the road cut through the park over the river. As the bridge came into view, Wendy saw a large man in a hoodie under the bridge, and she held up her hand to stop the group.
What's that guy doing? She asked quietly.
The three of them watched for a moment, with Carol stepping behind a tree and peeking out from behind it to make herself less noticeable.
It looks like he's putting up stickers, too. Let's wait for him to move on and see what he's putting up, Wendy said quietly as she and Mary stepped into the trees to hide themselves, too, watching the man and waiting for him to leave before approaching. The man glanced back in their direction, and the three of them tried their best to hide behind the trees for a few moments before Wendy peeked out again. Looks like he's moving on the other way. Good. Let's wait a moment and then go see what he put up.
Wendy watched the man walk on past the bridge where the path curved off until he could no longer be seen, then motioned for the group to keep moving. As they reached the bridge, they saw a large sticker stuck to the cement wall holding it up along the side of the path. Zaya Sacrifices Kids was written across the top in big letters, with a picture of the pop singer Zaya standing over an altar with a young child laying across it. Secret Hitler was written in smaller letters along the bottom of the sticker. There was more gang graffiti and another transgender flag drawn onto the wall with chalk.
Holy shit! That guy is with Secret Hitler!
Mary exclaimed in a semi-quiet voice.
You're right,
Carol said as she stared at the stickers with a dumbfounded look on her face.
What should we do? Should we introduce ourselves? It'd be like meeting a celebrity almost. Maybe we can find out more about Secret Hitler from him.
Wendy asked,
Why would we do that?
Carol sounded disappointed.
Oh, right. I forgot you guys don't trust Secret Hitler.
Wendy wondered for a moment whether Carol was actually trying to spy on Secret Hitler through them, or if she just thought they were cool and didn't quite get the potential danger Secret Hitler could pose.
I mean, we don't know anything about who they are or why they're doing this, Wendy said, but maybe it would be interesting to meet them. I don't know. Why do you want to?
Carol replied,
They're kind of famous, and we don't know for sure if they're behind the murders. Aren't you at least a little bit curious about them? Let's not, Mary said. If they're feds, they'll only cause trouble for us if we find out about them. If they're not feds and they really are on our side, maybe there's a good reason why they're trying to keep their identities a secret. There's another sticker, Wendy said, pointing to another one at the other end of the concrete wall. This one said, Kids Go Missing During Zaya Tours, across the top, followed by a list of about 24 children who went missing the day before or after a Zaya concert in their town, and the claim that none of the children were ever found, with Secret Hitler at the bottom. We should get pictures of these, Carol said. I mean, we're the first people to see them. Barbara's gonna freak out when she hears about this.
Carol pulled out her phone and snapped a picture of each of the stickers.
We might as well put some of our own stickers up with them, Wendy said. Hopefully that way we can get some of the publicity, too, when the pics go viral.
She put a Nova sticker just below each of the Secret Hitler stickers and then took pictures of them, and Carol took another picture of each pair of stickers.
Let's cover up this tranny flag, too, Mary suggested, placing another sticker over it. All right, let's keep going and do the same to all his stickers, Carol suggested, and Wendy was starting to like her enthusiasm despite still having doubts about her. Yeah, good idea, Mary replied, but don't walk too fast. We don't want him to notice us. They continued through the park, stopping when they saw a bench along the path with another Secret Hitler sticker on it, this one saying that Zaya would sacrifice a child at her upcoming show with a picture of Zaya with blood in her mouth and running down her chin. Such gruesome accusations, Carol commented. Do you think there's any truth to them? Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me, Wendy said with sadness. We know they traffic kids and get into all sorts of occult and demonic stuff, doing rituals and blood magic and all that. The question is how they know about it, and whether or not they'll actually be able to stop it. If they even want to stop it, Mary said. Could be another Pizzagate type thing where they're trying to make the truth sound like crazy Nazi propaganda.
Wendy put a Nova sticker on the bench next to the secret Hitler sticker, and she and Carol took pictures again before moving on. The trail wound on for a little ways before the trees opened up onto a playground and another parking lot. The path went by the edge of the playground and parking lot up to the road, where the stream passed through a tunnel under the road and sidewalk. There were multiple secret Hitler stickers on the playground equipment, and they picked out a couple Nova stickers that talked about the importance of having and protecting white children to put up with them, then took pictures. There were a few more secret Hitler stickers on the light poles by the parking lot and street, and they paired each of them up with a Nova sticker too, taking pictures of each of them. Once they were done there, Wendy led them over the stream where a path curved out from the sidewalk and went back into the trees on the other side.
This leads back to that plaza where we started putting up stickers. We can... Oh no!
Mary asked.
What is it?
Wendy explained.
I just realized this path leads back under that bridge where we found the secret Hitler stickers on the other side. So?
Mary sounded confused.
What if the secret Hitler guy went that way and sees that we put up our stickers next to his? Wendy asked. He might come looking for us. I don't think so. Look!
Carol pointed to a light pole further down the sidewalk past where the path split off back into the park.
There's another sticker there. It looks like he went along this road instead of going back into the park.
Wendy breathed a sigh of relief.
Oh, good. Then we can keep going and hopefully miss him on the way back.
Carol asked,
Why not go this way and see if we can get another look at him? I don't know if that's such a good idea, Mary said. What would that do other than put us in danger if he notices? What if it's someone who's in Patriot Front or Proud Boys or even Nova? Carol asked. It might be a good idea to know who it is.
Wendy considered the options. She was curious to know who was in Secret Hitler and what they were really up to, but Mary had a point about the potential dangers.
It seems risky, but I am curious. I wish we had some way to get a good look at him without getting close enough for him to notice us. How good is the zoom on your phone camera? Carol asked. Mine's pretty good. I bet we can get a picture of him from a distance with it.
Wendy replied,
Maybe you're better at this spy stuff than we gave you credit for.
Carol gave an amused smile.
It's always the ones you least suspect.
She winked and spun around to walk down the sidewalk where more secret Hitler stickers could be seen on light poles in the distance. Wendy shook her head as she watched Carol walk ahead of them. She turned to Mary and whispered,
I really hope this isn't some kind of elaborate trap.
Mary sighed.
Well, if she is trying to spy on us, at least it seems like she's more interested in Secret Hitler's secrets than ours.
That made Wendy feel a little bit better, but not much.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
She started to walk along after Carol, who turned to look back at them as she reached the light pole. They continued putting a sticker by each of the secret Hitler stickers as they went along down the block, reaching the street that cut through the park and waiting to cross. On the other side, the street went up over a hill, blocking their view of the other side. The man in the hoodie must have gotten far enough ahead of them to reach that hill before they reached the first light pole, and Wendy hoped that if they did catch up to him, they'd be able to avoid drawing attention to themselves. They crossed the street and started up the hill, still finding secret Hitler stickers with pictures of Zaya and the list of kids that supposedly went missing while she was in town on tour. Wendy was starting to get low on stickers, but she knew that once they went down the other side of the hill, they'd be getting close to the parking lot where their evening began. The trees were thick enough that the parking lot wasn't visible as they walked down the hillside towards it. As they approached the road that led into the park towards where their cars were parked, they came close enough to the edge of the trees to see a man in a hoodie talking on a cell phone as he stared at one of the Nova stickers they'd put up. Carol saw him first and pointed him out with a hushed whisper, and the three of them hid behind trees and peeked out at him. Carol pulled her phone out, and Wendy decided to pull hers out too, but the man was facing away from them, so even with her phone zoomed in, she couldn't get a shot of more than the back of his hoodie. She strained her ears to try to pick up some of his conversation. He was far enough away that she could only pick out a few words, but she was pretty sure she didn't recognize his voice. Her heart jumped for a moment when she clearly heard him say Nova, wondering whether he knew anything about their group. After a minute, he put his phone away and put stickers up on a couple of light poles, then went on down the path leading back to the plaza. Carol lamented,
I couldn't get a shot of his face. Me either, Wendy replied. It sounded like he said Nova. He was definitely interested in our stickers. But for a good reason or a bad reason? Mary asked, clearly nervous now that they'd seen the man again. I don't know.
Wendy was worried, but at least they knew that he knew someone else was putting up stickers.
Carol suggested, We might still be able to get a shot of him if we follow him.
Mary cautioned,
I really don't think that's a good idea. This might be the only chance any of us gets to see someone who's in Secret Hitler, Carol pleaded. I mean, what are the odds that we picked the same park at the same time to put stickers up?
Wendy suddenly had a terrible thought.
What if God sent us here tonight for a reason?
She looked at Mary.
Whether Secret Hitler is on our side or not, they're clearly up to something, and have what it takes to make things happen. Maybe we should follow him.
The fact that she'd suggested it made her shiver. She almost couldn't believe what she'd just said, but some part of her really was curious, and she'd just gotten a feeling that told her she needed to follow even if she didn't want to.
Are you sure about this?
Mary sounded concerned. She gave Carol a distrustful glance before looking back into Wendy's eyes. Wendy didn't try to hide the mix of emotions from showing themselves on her face. She was scared of what might happen if they followed him. She was also scared of what might happen if they didn't follow him, if God had planned for them to have this opportunity for a reason.
No, but I have a feeling we're supposed to. But let's keep trying to play it safe. Keep our distance and keep our cameras ready to take a picture from a distance.
They came out of the trees and started walking down the path, occasionally catching glimpses of the man in the hoodie from the back as they walked down the path through the trees towards the stone plaza with the bridge and waterway. When they reached the point where the path split, they saw the man walking up the bridge away from them. The sun was setting and it was starting to get dark out, but fortunately the sun was behind them, making it easier for them to see the man in the hoodie and harder for him to see them.
This might be our last chance!
Carol handed her phone to Mary with the camera pulled up and the flash turned off.
Come here, I've got an idea.
She went up to the bridge and climbed onto the concrete guardrail on the left side of the bridge, standing up carefully and facing them as the man in the hoodie finished crossing the bridge and walked on towards the parking lot behind them.
Stand over there and zoom in on him. No flash, and give me a signal when you're ready, Carol said quietly.
Down below they could hear the voices of what sounded to Wendy like a few black guys, which added to her nervousness. She and Mary zoomed their cameras in on the man in the hoodie, but stood on the other side of Carol so it would look like they were taking pictures of her. When they were ready, she gave a loud girlish squeal and threw her arms out to the side, and as the man in the hoodie turned around to look at the source of the loud noise, Wendy and Mary were able to snap a couple of photos of him while making it look like they were taking pictures of their friend doing a pose in her pretty dress. The man only looked their way for a couple seconds before turning around and moving on. Unfortunately, the noise Carol made also drew the attention of the men hanging out down below. As she climbed down from the guardrail, they could hear the voices of the black men in the plaza below asking each other what was going on.
Let's go!
Wendy grabbed Carol's hand and pulled her along the path back the way they came. As they reached the line of trees, they heard a voice behind them. "Hey, yo, white girl, where you going?" Wendy glanced back to see a group of young black men wearing red shirts with red bandanas and caps over their heads approaching them.
Run!
Wendy did not want to wait around to see if the group of young black men wearing gang colors and hanging out down by the gang graffiti and the pro-white stickers they'd just posted were going to be friendly. She had to pull Carol along as she stumbled for a moment before picking up the pace and running along with Wendy and Mary. Her heart began pounding as she realized she could hear the black men start to run after them.
Don't stop! I'm calling the cops!
Wendy waved her phone at the black men as they ran, and it sounded like the black men stopped following them and started arguing amongst themselves as they continued to run away.
Don't do it,
Wendy said between breaths as they continued to run. Mary looked freaked out, but fortunately she was focusing more on running than on trying to dial the phone. When they finally reached the little field by the lot with their cars, it sounded like the black men had stopped pursuing them, and Wendy finally slowed down to catch her breath.
Don't call the cops, they'll arrest us for a hate crime.
Mary looked like she was about to cry as she clutched Carol's phone in her hand.
But they would've...
She looked down the path behind them and seemed to accept that they weren't being followed. With the crisis over, Mary threw her arms around Wendy and cried on her shoulder. Wendy hugged her tightly and cried with her. Carol put her arms around both of them, squeezing them tightly, but she didn't seem to be crying or as freaked out as the two of them.
It's okay, we're safe. They were chasing us!
Mary exclaimed in a voice that expressed terror and exasperation.
What if they'd caught us and robbed us, or found the stickers?
Wendy said with the horrified realization that she still had a few stickers left in her pocket.
They probably would have chimped out and killed us.
Carol pulled back from the hug, her eyes going wide with fear as if she had just realized how much danger they were really in.
You really think they would have done that? You think they wouldn't have?
Mary asked in an accusatory tone.
I mean,
Carol's mouth hung open as she looked back and forth between the two of them.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize. They would have done worse things to you before killing you,
Wendy said, hoping to help it sink in just how close they had come to being robbed, raped, kidnapped, and or killed. If Carol really was trying to infiltrate them, Wendy hoped the experience would make her more racist so she'd rethink her position.
They looked like they were in a gang, probably trying to add this park to their territory. If they'd gotten their hands on us, they would have robbed and raped us for sure. That's what black guys like them do. And if they found the stickers and knew what we were doing, they'd have made it worse than you even want to imagine. And they'd have killed us when they were done.
Tears started to form in Carol's eyes, and her lip began to quiver as she let out a sob.
I'm so sorry. I wasn't thinking. Don't ever forget why those niggers were chasing us, Wendy said sternly, or why they stopped when Mary threatened to call the cops.
She wasn't good at being stern like this. It was hard for her, but she could tell Carol needed to hear it. Now that Carol was crying, Wendy softened up and gave her a hug, squeezing her tightly. Even if she hadn't known any better before, she did now, and she was still a white woman who deserved better than to be raped by savages.
It's all right. They're gone now. Take your phone back and let's get to our cars so we can lock the doors and get out of here.